Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to this session, second session of Subtheme 4, promoting CA-based knowledge and innovation systems and information sharing and communication. This session has 7 presenters. So I'd like to give a special welcome to the presenters and also welcome to those who are joining us from everywhere. May I also take this opportunity to remind the presenters that our sessions are exactly 10 minutes. There are many sessions, so we have to keep them to 10 minutes so that we can have enough time for question and answers. Our first presenter is Miguel Angel Repullo. The presentation is titled Soil Protection and Carbon Sequestration Through Seeded Ground Cover. Spontaneous Vegetation and Pruning Remains Mulch in Olive Orchard. Miguel is a PhD engineer in agronomy with over 15 years of research experience working in many institutions. I think I would, before wasting too much time, let me hand over to the first presenter. It is a recorded presentation, mind you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for letting me do this communication for the World Congress. In this research, we evaluate different types of ground cover in olive orchard. Well, olive trees are not very demanding in terms of soil quality, and traditionally have been planted on hills with the slope, marginal areas with shallow soil, are common this type of picture in the area with the big amount of soil erosion, and also olive trees can be dry. Ground cover established in the row of olive orchard is a solution for erosive processes because reduce high capacity to reduce erosion, but also have other agro-environmental advantages, such as the maintenance of soil structure because reduce the soil disturbance, atmospheric CO2 fixation that imply increase of soil organic matter, is a living soil that improve the biodiversity. After moving, can keep soil moisture because the mulch on the soil surface reduce evaporation. Ground covers implied an energy saving, and policies are focused on this type of environmental practice. So that means aids for farmers. We are focusing this research on soil protection and carbon sequestration. Well, the experiment was carried out in 4 different experimental fields during 4 growing seasons. We have compared spontaneous vegetation in that field with seeded ground cover with different taxonomic families. In the field 1, we compare spontaneous vegetation with a grass, Brachypodium distachyon, that have the property to self-seeding the soil, so have to be established just the first year. In the field 2, we compare with crucifers in Apisalva. Crucifer has potential to alleviate compacted soil because of the powerful root system, but also have the capacity to fight against some plant diseases. Field 3, we use legume, veg, Picerillosa, because legumes are used as green manure. In the field 4, we use an inner ground cover, so made of pruning remains after chipping. What have we measured? We have measured the soil cover during the whole study period, but we focus on the end of the decomposition period. That is the critical point because the residues are degraded and the risk of erosive events is high. Carbon sequestration calculated as the increment of soil organic carbon, and 2 rates. Annual carbon sequestration rate is carbon sequestration carbon increment per the number of years, and 4 per thousand rate is the annual carbon sequestration per the carbon at the beginning of the experiment, expressed per thousand. 4 per thousand initiative want to increase the soil organic carbon at least 4 per thousand, 0.4%, to offset the annual CO2 emission from fossil fuel. Well, the results. Soil coverage, well, in these 4 figures, we represent the soil cover at the end of the decomposition period of the seeded ground cover and the spontaneous vegetation. We can observe like the brachybodium distachyon, the grass provide a very high soil protection. Sometimes statistically significant, asterisk means significant difference, and NS non-significant difference with the spontaneous vegetation. The field through provide lower, the crucifers provide lower soil protection, but usually upper the threshold for conservation agriculture at 30%. In case of leguminous plants, because of the low carbon nitrogen ratio of the residues, at the end of the decomposition period, the soil protection could be minimum. The spontaneous vegetation in this field was very low in terms of biomass, and was lower than 30% except the last year. With the pruning remains mulch, we wanted to observe the effect of the composition of the pruning residues over 4 years, but a second application of pruning remains is expected because the pruning operation in olive trees is usually every 2 years. Regarding carbon sequestration, we observe that all seeded inner ground cover provide better results than the spontaneous vegetation during the 4th season. The unit, kilogram per hectare, refers to hectare of ground cover strip, not hectare of olive orchard. For instance, field 4, a big amount of biomass is applied on only 2 meters that correspond to the machinery width. For this reason, they have a very high carbon sequestration rate in only 2 meters of strip. But other ground cover, seeded ground cover, provide value between 1 and 2 tons per hectare. All of them fulfill widely the objective of the 4 per thousand initiative. Conclusion, to sum up, ground cover established in the interrow of permanent crop are effective to protect the soil for erosion. Ground cover acts as carbon sink, increasing soil organic carbon after termination. According to this experiment, soil with high clay content, low carbon at the beginning, have more potential for carbon sequestration. And seeded ground cover and pruning remain mulch. So those treatment with where the farmer has a role provided better result than the spontaneous flora. And that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Miguel, for that interesting presentation. And I think, as we all know, I think issues of carbon sequestration and soil protection as a result of soil degradation, I think very critical issues in conservation agriculture. We'll move on to the next presentation. The next presentation is titled Happy Seeder, a promising CA technology for sustainability of rice wheat cropping system. Our presenter is Dr. Anil Kumar, who is assistant professor in the Department of Farm Machinery and Power Engineering, Chaudhary Charan Singh Agricultural University in Haryana in India. Dr. Kumar, I think we can move on to that presentation. Thank you.
Good morning to all respected chairman, co-chairman, reporter, scientists, industry persons, farmers, students, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Anil Kumar, working as assistant professor in the Department of Farm Machinery and Power Engineering, Chaudhary Charan Singh, Haryana Agricultural University, Hisar, Haryana, India. I will present my talk on Happy Seeder, a promising conservation agricultural technology for sustainability of rice wheat cropping system in Haryana. My university is named after India's 7th Prime Minister, who is also referred as champion of India's peasants. My university has contributed significantly to green revolution by developing high-yielding varieties and inventing new technologies that leads to massive increase in food production. Rice wheat system of Indo-Gangetic plains of South Asia provides bulk of food and supports livelihood of millions of rural poor. There has been a significant increase in grain production of rice and wheat during the past 4 decades. The total food grain production of India is around 300 million tons. The small state of Haryana produced 18.2 million tons of food grains during 2018-19 and contributed 15.6% to central food, despite of only 1.4% area of countries with an average productivity of 3.53 tons per hectare as against 1.92 tons per hectare at national level. The area under paddy cultivation in the state was 1.4 million hectare during 2019-20, out of which 60% was under basmati and 40% under non-basmati varieties. The basmati is the geographical indicator of the state and famous throughout the world, but unfortunately the area under basmati is declining day by day due to lack of proper mechanization, labor shortage, climate change and government policies. Haryana produced around 12 million tons of paddy straw, out of which 3 million tons was burnt last year. Previously it was 8 to 9 tons. The main reason of burning was shorter planting window and growing labor shortage, energy prices, and lack of economic viable options. This picture, the NASA satellite picture, shows that burning was almost nil up to 2000 in Haryana and Punjab, and then increased drastically in Punjab, mainly due to introduction of combines. The burning incidents were less in Haryana due to more area under basmati varieties, as harvesting of basmati is done by manual labor. The burning incidents were reducing continuously, and now we control 75% burning as shown in picture this one. The reduction was due to jointly efforts of scientists of university, international organizations, state officials, and farmers. The government of India also shown keen interest and provided $1,655 million to control straw burning in the states of Haryana and Punjab. They provided 50% subsidy on straw management machineries and individual cluster burning centers. Next. This picture shows the smoke position in northern India and Pakistan during the month of October and November 2019, and it is very difficult to breathe during these periods. These are the headlines of national newspapers during paddy harvesting season. Heart of Green Revolution burns, health under cloud, Delhi chokes on Punjab smoke, etc., etc. So very embarrassing situation. And as all we know, straw burning results in air pollution, emission of greenhouse gases, which causes asthma, cancer, and other health problems in humans and animals. Loss of nutrients, organic carbon, and soil fertility. Loss of biodiversity, road accident, reduced herbicide, bioefficacy, climate change, and global warming. Next. For management of paddy straw, we have machines for both in situ and ex situ, but as an agriculture scientist, we will prefer in situ management. We can maintain so that we can maintain basic principles of conservation agriculture. This is the video. So happy seeder is a promising technology for this in situ management. We can sow wheat directly in standing stubbles and after combining or after chopping or straw. By chopping, we can use choppers and then sow directly with happy seeder. And this video performs very well in under heavy load conditions. The load is around 8 to 9 tons per hectare. The performance is very good, and farmers are accepting this. So for this technology, we are conducting experiments for the last 10 years from 2009-10 to 2018-19 and continuously in 5 districts of Haryana, mainly Karnal, Kaithal, Panipat, Hisar, and Fatehpur. The paired comparisons were made for key performance indicators, grain yield, net economic returns, labor, and energy use. Between happy seeder, no-till direct drilling, and conventional tillage-based wheat crop establishment in rotation with wheat. The results showed that use of happy seeder for direct seeding of wheat resulted in 6.55 plus minus 2.52% higher grain yield, 152 plus minus $32 higher net economic returns, with 79 plus minus 3.5% lower labor and 70 plus minus 2.2% less energy used compared to conventional tillage-based wheat cropping establishment. The main challenges in the adoption of technologies are quality of the machines. Quality of machine is a challenge in the adoption of technology. Till today, Bureau of Indian Standards does not specify any particular standards for any agricultural machinery, including happy seeder in India. Therefore, there is a very big challenge to provide a good quality machine to the farmers as there is no control on the manufacturer. Although testing centers are established by the government, but they do not have any power to reject any machine. They just tell about quality and performance of the machine. Next, technical knowledge of the most of the farmers is less. They don't know how to operate the machine effectively. Majority of the farmers don't know optimum engine and rotor speed they should maintain, at which height they should operate the machine, and when to replace the flail or blade of the machines. How much is the gap between flail and body and ground, etc. So there is a need to continuously train the farmers. Repair and maintenance facilities are not available in local areas, and farmers have to travel large to get the machine repaired. The window for wheat sowing is very small, and as a result, he goes for another option. So there is a need to establish repair and maintenance facilities in local areas. Government policies are the main hitch in the adoption of CA technologies in India. The work on CA technologies was started in late 90s, and we have attained a target of around 4 to 5 lakh hectares in small state of Haryana only in next 5 years. But then what happened? Government announced subsidy on rotavators, and suddenly the area drastically reduced to few thousand hectares in next 2-3 years. And all efforts of the scientists of the university, international organizations, and field officers gone waste. Now again, the farmers have started to adopt CA technologies and manage 70 to 80% crop residue, and government announced subsidy on super seeder. Super seeder is a very heavy machine similar to rotary drill in Indian perspective and needs high horsepower tractors. And we again come back to the starting points, especially in Haryana and Punjab. I do not understand what the mismatch in Indian agriculture, but what is happening is not in the favor of farmers and the community. The government is emphasizing on small targets rather than long targets for the sustainability of farming system in India. Basically, the farmers know the benefits of mindset of the farmer. Farmers know the benefits of CA technologies. He wants to adopt the technologies, but in India, we have more social implications. You give more weightage to what the neighbors farmers are doing or saying rather than a scientist. First, he is afraid of crop germination, then tillering, and he remains in confusion state of mind during first 2 months, and many times he loses the hope. This is not his fault. He always saw clean fields from his childhood, but now the young farmers are understanding the situation and adopting the technology. Energy, labor, and time-saving technology with high efficiency, ecological balance is attained with increased yield and net returns. The technology is specific to site, crop, and environmental conditions. The science-based hard evidence generated from real farm situations across a larger geography have helped extension agents, farmers, service providers, developmental departments, and governments for promoting no-till wheat using happy seeder technology in Northwest India. Thanks for giving me opportunity to present my study in 8th World Congress of Conservation Agriculture and listening me patiently. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kumar, for that presentation. I think it all reminds us that the machinery development processes are long-term, and it's critical for us to develop them in consultation with the farmers, and also holistically to ensure that the technical support exists when the machinery are being used by the farmers. Thank you once again, and may I remind that participants can continue sending their questions, which can be answered by the presenters at the end of all the 7 presentations. Our next presentation, the third one, is entitled Conservation Agriculture-Based Intensification. Conservation Agriculture-Based Intensification sustainably improves the food, energy, water nexus for smallholder farmers in Eastern Gangetic South Asia. Our presenter is Dr. Mahesh Gathala. Briefly, Dr. Mahesh Gathala has over 20 years of experience in applied agricultural research for development in South and West Asia. He's presently a senior assistant agronomist with CIMMYT. Dr. Gathala, I think you can go ahead and present. It's recorded presentation, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I have my presentation? Thank you very much, Sepo.
To chair, co-chair, and reporters. I would like to extend my thanks to organizers to giving me this opportunity. And I'm also highly thankful to all participants who are joining my presentation on conservation agriculture-based intensification sustainably improves the food, energy, and water nexus for smallholders, farmers in Eastern Gangetic Plains of South Asia. Myself, Mahesh Gathala. I am working as a system agronomist with CIMMYT Bangladesh. And I will also thanks to my all co-authors who contributed in this paper. The Eastern Gangetic Plains is part of the Indo-Gangetic Plains in South Asia, which known as local productivity, poor agriculture mechanization, highly vulnerable to climate change, which is like floods, cyclone, storms, drought, acidity, salinity, biological diseases, so and so. Poor market infrastructure, injudicious use of external inputs and natural resources, and also known as for small holding with fragmented lands. It covers 180 districts in 3 countries. It hosting the total population of 450 million with high density of 1,000 persons per square kilometers. It's dominated by small and marginal farms, which is 70 to 90% dominated. Total cultivable land is around 30 million hectares. The cropping density 173%, which means the 2 crops annually that farmers harvested. It's dominated by rice wheat cropping system, which is rice, rice wheat, and then new emerging cropping system like rice maize, and then other cropping system like rice legumes and so on. The approach and process, conservation agriculture-based sustainable intensification, which is called CASI, with the overall aim is to reduce the poverty by improving the productivity, profitability, and sustainability of smallholder agriculture in the Eastern Gangetic Plains zones. The CASI covers the conservation agriculture-based management practices, efficient use of external inputs and natural resources, economic, profitable, and viable. It provides efficient and sustaining eco-farming system, which is cropping and livestock farming, which leads to system perspective resilience, saves water and energy for future. It provides clean environment and is also conserve biodiversity, which is soil, fauna, and plant, and that's contributed to achieve the sustainable development goals of food, water, and energy nexus, and boost the economic growth of the region. The Sustainable and Resilient Farming System Intensification Projects ran 2014 to present day, covering 3 countries, India, Nepal, and Bangladesh, which was around USD 10 million, in size. Project was led by CIMMYT in partnership of over 20 international and national organizations. Designed and implemented on over 400 on-farm participated trials across the geography and cropping system, spreading a district of the 3 countries. That's led to develop the trust among farm communities, researchers, and extension personnel, generation of the field evidence, based science evidences, the convergence with ongoing streams and programs of government and private sector, orientation of rural micro-entrepreneurship for rural youth, employment, and inform science-based policy to the policymakers, and build institutional linkages, innovations, and capacity building, of a range of the stakeholders, and cross-border learnings and sharing of the knowledge. The research experimental details was executed with 40 participants with on-farm trials, and then these across the geography of 3 countries. The which is T1 as called as conventional system, which is based on both tillage and manual transplanting and broadcasting and manual seon. T2 is partial CASI, whereas wet monsoon crop was grown as under conventional system, whereas dry season crop was grown under conservation agriculture. T3 was full CASI, where both season crops were grown under no-till and conservation agriculture system. T4 was full CASI, where both crops were seasons crops were grown under conservation agriculture. Only the difference is direct seeded rice was replaced by mechanized transplanting under unparalleled conditions. The benefits of conservation agriculture-based system identifications, evidences from farmers participating research in EGP, more than 400 farmers. Our results clearly showed that that conservation agriculture improves the farm system yield by 5 to 10%. It reduces 8 to 17% irrigation water. It also reduces 26 to 44% labor use. It's reduced 46 to 62% energy use. It improves farm profitability by 16 to 56%, and it also reduces 11 to 16% of CO2. If you look at the cropping system analysis and scenarios, the both dominating cropping system, rice and rice wheat systems are not competitive to the other alternative cropping system, which means we need to be diversify our cropping system with alternative cropping system options and diversification options. So like diversification with rice maize or rice lentil gives higher system yield, but rice lentil system have its own problems like biological stresses and all, but rice maize system is provide higher productivity with more resiliency. The intensifying intertriple cropping also gives better yields on rice, rice and rice wheat systems. The meta-analysis of the data of trials, it shows that the percentage change over baseline of conventional system with full Kasi and partial Kasi in terms of grain yield, the system rice frequent release is increased by 2 to 5%. The irrigation water use reduced by 10 to 35%. The total energy use reduced by 4 to 12%, and the CO2 equivalent emissions reduced by 6 to 12%. Similarly, the water productivity improves by 4 to 10%. The change that labor use reduced by 10 to 40% in partial and full Kasi over to conventional, and then it's also reduced the production cost on by 10 to 20%, and it improves the gross margins of the farm by 10 to 25%. In improvement. In general, when we increase the level of management, we also increase the CO2 equivalent emissions, all global potentials, with increase of rice equivalent yield and gross margin. But by practicing the Kasi, we can achieve higher system equivalent grain yield and then system net income with low CO2 equivalent emissions in both rice wheat and rice maize systems. It also shows that when we do the analysis of better indicators and desirable to that. In this analysis shows that desirable towards outer for all parameters. It shows that all parameters shows more desirable in Kasi, double crop Kasi compared to conventional system. It also shows that single crop Kasi better than conventional system in all parameters. It's indicated that by adoption of conservation agriculture, we can improve all parameters, and that can be contribute in sustainable development goals. We have to have a very successful business model for large scaling out, and then this project was used as an example as West Bengal of farmer support groups, which is farmers clubs, federations, producer organizers, cooperatives, and so on. So to facilitate and engage between stakeholders to coordinate support for farmers from external agencies, provide benefit to local communities. Here, the project role was catalytic to fill the gaps where is needed and to bring all stakeholders under one umbrella to implement their activities through these clubs and then farmers groups. And where that each stakeholders have their own and own contributions, where research and interest. The research and external department's role was to build the capacity and provide technical backstopping. Private sector role was to make the availability or access to the machinery and then link to the manufacturer and then supply agricultural inputs. And then finance sector was to make sure the finance through either banks like NABARD and then through credit options like microfinance and all. And government sector is linked with subsidy, new machineries, and support at different levels of governance. And then these groups and then solution providers provided a single window services to the communities for mechanized options, seed, chemicals, agro-advisory and all. The convergence government schemes facilitated and organized to the benefit, and it was implemented through this farmers group. Participatory research helps to catalyze research project, link farmers and researchers, employment opportunity, youth employment was created and developed, generated through providing the services of machinery as well as seed multiplication and then small business support is like a small scale project, processing small scale factories and so on. So conclusions, CASI improves system productivity, water, energy use efficiency, and leverage efficiency and gross margins for smallholder farmers in EGP. CASI can contribute to sustainable development goals for food, energy, and water nexus with additional benefit to environmental resilience and social prosperity. Provide opportunities for rural youth employment and women empowerment, need to be adapted to local farming systems and environmental geography, as one recipe cannot be fit for all size and all farm. So it has to be locally adopted. Institutional linkages and capacity building are very important. Need strong governance and policy support to ensure full benefits of the success of CASI. We also finally acknowledge the funders of Australian Central for International Research and Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade as part of the Sustainable Development investment portfolio. The author sincerely and deeply thanks the smallholder farmers who conducted the on-farm trials and then colleagues from Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and Australia who collaborated in this work. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer all questions and take forward for your suggestions for further input. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Dr. Gathala. Very interesting. For me, I think it's the role of conservation agriculture in crop production intensification, and in terms of branding, the benefits in terms of water savings, energy savings, labor savings. And I think this creates opportunities for partnerships, I think, in the different sectors, especially at policy level, which promotes actually even enhance the adoption of CA. With governments, if we can actually sell to them in terms of how much energy can we save, how much water can we save with CA, I think it's a very, very good selling point. Thank you very much, Dr. Gathala, for that. So we move on to the next presentation. This presentation is entitled The Development of Straw Retention Technology for Conservation Agriculture in China. The presentation is from Liu Peng, who is a PhD student at Conservation Tillage Research Center, Agricultural University at the National Institute for Conservation Tillage in China. Liu Peng, you're welcome to share your presentation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my honor for this presentation. My name is Liu Peng. I come from conservation Tillage Research Center. My presentation title is The Development of Soil Retention Technology for Conservation Agriculture in China. I will report from the following three aspects. The crop store yield in China was 807 million tons. The crop store is so huge because the energy and folder structure have been changed, especially in village. The crop store always burned and discarded, so this brings many problems, such as air and water pollution. This will directly affect the peak carbon dioxide emissions and achieve carbon neutrality. So, what can we do? To improve the utilization, the crop store is used as fertilizer, fodder, new energy resource, feedstock, and industry material. But as a fertilizer is the simplest and most economical utilization way because of the less operating process. The store management machine is the main equipment to achieve the crop store retention. The chopping blade is the main device for the management machine. According to the functions, the types of the chopping blade as hammer type, straight type, air type, wide type, and the combined wide type. Those are the commonly used in China, which can chop the soft and hard straw, such as maize straw, cotton straw, wheat straw, and rice straw. Some blades are designed such as T-type and three-section linking type to improve the chopping quality, but the structure of those blades is complex and the function is single. The rotation speed of the chopping blade always are larger than 1800 RPM, so the arrangement for the chopping blade in the shaft is very important. The asymmetric and symmetric double helix arrangement always are used in China. Those can improve operating life and reduce the vibration of the machine and make the even force on the chopping blade shift. The store management is divided into powered by tractor and harvester according to the power source. The chopping device combined with no or minimal tillage center is common for the store directly chopping device in the operation. The white type blade and the straight blade are used for the chopping mass straw. The straight blades are used to break the stalks integrated on the opener. Finally, the high-quality setting operation is achieved. The store chopping and background spreading device combined with no tillage center. In the operation, the store is chopped. Then the store transmission device collates and transfers the chopped straw. Finally, the chopped straw is spread behind the center. For the straw chopping and the lateral spreading device, the rotation direction of the straw cleaning blade is perpendicular to the forward direction of the tractor. The straw in the sewing blade is sewn to the side direction of the no-tillage center to prevent the block edge of the center by the straw. According to the transmission way, the straw chopping machine is divided into unilateral and bilateral transmission machine. The unilateral transmission machine has a simple structure, but the position of the gravity center shifts to the installation direction of the transmission. The structure of the bilateral transmission machine is complicated but stable, and the gravity center is in the middle of the machine. According to the spreading method, the straw chopping and the spreading devils has two tabs: guarding blade tab and the disc spreading tab. The guarding blade tab is easy adjustment for spreading widths and lengths, and the structure is simple. The disc spreading tab has the large spreading areas, but the spreading areas is console, and the structure is complex. The two spreading devils cannot adjust in real time. The straw chopping and mixing machine mainly include chopping devils, variable adjustment devils, transmission devils, and mixing devils to adjust cover mass of the straw in the field and mix the chopped straw with the soil. The straw chopping and the burning machine mainly include clothing devils, chopping devils, and vegetation and carving devils, and transmission devils. The part of chopped straw is buried, and another chopped straw marching in the field. The common machine mainly include cotton straw chopping and transmission devils, residual film collection devils, draft fan, and residual plastic film both. To address cotton straw retention and residual plastic film collection in Xinjiang, the rate cotton straw less than 15 kilometers is 90.1%. Collection rate of residual plastic is 84.4%. Some chopping devils combined with harvester are installed in front, middles, and rear portions of the harvester. This can reduce the operation process. In addition, the part of straw can be collected and other straw is chopped and mulched on the field. But the chopping lines and the spreading uniform need to be further improved. In the future, the crop straw rotation machine needs to be more intelligent, more energy conservation, combined operation with other equipment or machine to improve the operating efficiency and better chopping and spreading quality. That's all. Thanks for your listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Liu Peng, for that presentation on straw retention. These are very good technologies which can actually assist straw management, especially in the smallholder sector. The next presentation, which is our fifth presentation, is from Gernot Bodner. And the title of the presentation is entitled Soil Health Potential in Future-Oriented Farming System. Gernot Bodner is from the University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences in Austria. He is a board member of the Boden Lidner Association, and he leads the working group on crop ecology at the Department of Crop Science and has a research focus on sustainable soil management. Gernot Bodner, we can have the presentation. Thank you.
Dear colleagues, I'm very happy that I can present you and share with you a new project that we are currently developing in Austria as a collaboration between the Bodenleben or Soil Life Association and the Austrian University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences. It's called Soil Pioneers, and it intends to show soil health potentials in future-oriented farming systems. To give you a very short background idea, agriculture evidently has undergone several changes over history, and basically these bigger changes were always consequences of a crisis like Green Revolution that has followed the post-war food crisis. And I would say that also today we are in a kind of crisis situation around the public debate on climate change and how to tackle with climate change. And this crisis situation is giving rise to new ideas on how to do agricultural management in future. So I guess also we're in a crisis situation. We're also in a situation where a lot of new ideas and interesting ideas can come up, and we hope that we can contribute a bit to find a solution to this climate change crisis. So one of the key issues for all ideas on new agricultural management concepts is soil organic matter, soil organic carbon. So we're thinking that soil organic carbon and rebuilding soil organic carbon is one of the key tasks and the key aims of novel concepts of how to do agricultural management. And there's a clear reason behind it. If you compare land use in forests or grasslands with cropland, you can see that croplands have lost about 40 to 60% of soil organic carbon over the long history of agriculture. So definitely there is potential to restore soil organic carbon stocks by novel management tools. Well, why to restore soil organic carbon? Basically, there are, I would say, three key issues of focusing on rebuilding soil organic carbon. One is the climate change topic, where restoring soil organic carbon stocks is one measure to mitigate climate change by transferring carbon dioxide from the atmosphere towards stable sinks in the soil. Another key issue of building up and restoring soil organic carbon stocks in soil is to adapt to climate change, because there's a tight link between soil structure, rooting capacity, and water holding capacity and soil organic carbon stocks. And the third key issue for agriculture is that soil biology is tightly linked to soil organic carbon, and thus enhancing natural cycles, nutrient cycles, but also potentials of resistance against biotic stresses in the soil is tightly linked to better soil biology, which in turn is linked to soil organic carbon. So one key issue and one key question which is currently under debate is, can we manage soil organic carbon stocks? So as all of you know, and this is what this picture shows you, there is natural variability in soil organic carbon. So just look on a slope and you can immediately see from the soil colors that there's natural variability in soil organic carbon. So the question is, can we do something by management beyond the natural ecosystem influences on soil organic carbon stocks? And if yes, if we can do something, if we can increase soil organic carbon stocks, the question is, to what extent? What is the target? And there might be two different targets. One might be the climate change mitigation logics, which just says the more, the better, because the more soil organic carbon, the more organic carbon in the soil, the less we might have in the atmosphere in form of CO2. The other logics is the soil fertility logics, which I guess for agriculture is the key logics. So improving soil organic carbon will improve several ecosystem and soil health properties, which are relevant for agricultural production. And the targets, the levels of improving soil organic carbon might be different ones. So if we can manage soil organic carbon, still we have to define clearly what are our targets. Always, when we want to change something in nature, we have to understand what it is about. And in this context, the idea is, what is soil organic carbon? And I want to point just to two key things, two key new understandings of stable soil organic carbon. there are two main properties in soil that we should keep track on if we speak on increasing soil organic carbon. One are aggregates and pores. So soil structure is one of the key issues of higher soil organic carbon stocks. And soil structure is something that we can manage in agriculture. A second issue is that soil organic carbon is most stable when it is sorbed to mineral surfaces. And in this context, the new knowledge of soil organic carbon has pointed to soil microbes. So I want to very shortly point to these two key issues of increasing soil organic carbon that we can manage in agriculture. One is soil structure and soil aggregates. We now know that partially decomposed organic residues are stabilized inside soil aggregates. So if we keep aggregates stable, we also keep soil organic matter stable. And the key source for this aggregate occluded soil organic matter are plant roots. So we have to focus on good rooting intensity of crops in order to enhance aggregate-bound soil organic carbon stocks. The second issue is soil microorganisms, soil microbiology. Also, soil microbes are only a very tiny proportion of the entire soil organic carbon, so on average just 1.2% of microbial carbon related to total soil organic carbon. But the most stable carbon in soil, which is bound to mineral surfaces, is mainly of microbial origin. So there's a so-called microbial carbon pump, which concentrates carbon of microbial origin on mineral surfaces. So managing soil biology is one of the key levers to enhance soil organic carbon stocks. Now, the project that we are currently developing together of our university with Bodenleben is called Soil Pioneers. One of the key interests of this project is the determination of SOC improving management systems at the farming scale in a range of different soil types in Eastern Austria. Our key questions are: what are realistic soil organic carbon storage potentials? So to which extent we can increase soil organic carbon? The second key issue is which functions we can improve by improving soil organic carbon, functions relevant for soil health and agricultural productivity. And third, what is a set of management measures that has mostly contributed to achieve these soil health gains? So we have selected pioneer farms in 20 different soils in Austria. Adjacent to these pioneer fields, there have been standard fields under the current state-of-the-art management, which we want to compare to the advances in pioneer fields. So it's the same soil type, the fields are adjacent, but they undergo two different management systems. And as a comparison, we have selected a kind what we call semi-natural references, which are mostly border strips, in some cases also natural grasslands, or wind belts, where basically the soil is covered all over the year, and we use this as a national reference system. So just to show you some of our first results of this recently started project, in average, pioneer systems have increased the soil organic carbon by 0.5%. So it's an increase, a relative increase of about 20% compared to standard systems. You can see that in the natural reference, there's still a decent advance on the same soil type, which gives us a margin for discussing if in an agricultural system we can come up to this natural reference. We have also measured dissolved organic matter, which is a very important source of organic matter for soil microbes and for functional contributions of soil organic carbon. And in this context, we've seen that pioneer systems have nearly 1/3 of higher levels of dissolved organic carbon compared to standard systems. Again, the natural reference has still a comparatively high advance over both of the agricultural systems. Concerning some structural functions of soil organic carbon, here you can clearly see that soil organic carbon or humus content is tightly related to aggregate stability up to a certain point where you can see that there's also here a saturation, but most of the agricultural systems are still pretty far away from this saturation of humus bound aggregate stability. Concerning the pore volume and the water storage, here you can see a first result from a silty soil, which is under no tillage management. And here you can clearly see that the pioneer management is pretty near to the natural reference in some very relevant pores, which are between soil aeration and water storage for plants. So there is a chance to improve soil structure and improve the pore system for key adaptation properties like water storage and soil aeration by changing management. Well, our project is still at the starting point. There are still a lot of upcoming things. So first of all, we want also to understand better the biochemistry of soil organic carbon, the different qualities, in order to obtain indicators for monitoring the functions of soil organic carbon. We will look more deeply into differently stable pools, so pools which are minerally sorbent, basically of microbial origin, pools at differently sized aggregates, and the less stable free soil organic carbon pool. And last but not least, we will certainly look in depth into the soil microbiology, both in terms of microbiological biomass as well as the diversity of soil microbes, because we are convinced that this is the most sensitive and most important lever for improving soil health. So these are basically some first insights from the Soil Pioneer project. Basically, it is an on-farm approach for soil health research. It's an application of the new soil organic carbon theories to practical farming systems. And we try to link sophisticated lab analytical techniques with sophisticated practical management systems. So we are convinced that beyond the insight into soil health management, we can show with this project that unifying research and practical farming can definitely advance our understanding of nature as a precondition for better management. Thank you, and still have a good Congress.
Thank you very much, Gernot Bodner, for that very interesting presentation. I think issues of soil health are critical in sustainability. In the smallholder sector, inherent poor soil fertility, I think, is the main issue that increases the production costs. So I think understanding those parameters in addressing soil health, I think, is very, very critical for sustainable agriculture production. Our next presentation will be given by, is entitled Learning from the First Conservation Agriculture Focused MOOCe. These are the online platforms. The presentation will be provided by Ram Datt Mishra, who is from Bihar Agricultural University in India. Dr. Ram Datt Mishra is working as Associate Professor at the School of Agribusiness at Dr. Rajendra Prasad Central Agricultural University there in India. And he has been working in adoption and scaling up of conservation agriculture. So he will be giving us our next presentation. Dr. Ram Datt, you're welcome to present. Thank you.
Good morning, friends. Today I'm going to talk about very important topic, and which is treated as disruptive innovation in the field of education. Around 9 years ago, the New York Times 2012 declared as the year of MOOCe. No doubt, before that we had MOOCe, but scale was very limited and what we call CMOOC. And after 2012, a number of big platforms came, and like edX, Coursera, Udacity, so what we call XMOOCs. Country like India, we also realized that, and we came with the big platform called Swayam. And interesting thing is that we had one platform exclusive for agriculture since 2014. And we had last year itself new education policy, and focus is towards about the skill development and how to harness the potential of digital platforms. And more focused toward about the MOOCs. Now the question is, across the world, most of the MOOCs are designed for the students, researchers, or this type of learners only. So now question is, are MOOCs limited to only student learning and formal education? We can't extend up to last mile? If yes, now question is, that group of learners are different. So how can we motivate them to use such type of e-platforms? And no doubt they have a lot of experience. So whether MOOCs is able to promote knowledge sharing and peer learning? Another important question is, because agriculture is not somewhat about the only cognitive things related to only knowledge. We have to talk about how to do the things. We have to practice it. So can MOOCs inculcate skill or functional knowledge? And then the important question is whether we need a different set of pedagogy for this type of MOOCs. So now I'm going to just discuss with the experience of our MOOC about these questions. Overall, we organized Kasi-based MOOC and last year itself during the COVID time, and across the 52 countries, altogether 7,390 people participated. And you can see here, the interesting thing is that even AG MOOC platform, there is no as such category of farmer in participants group. So they had to register in individual category. Another important thing is, came out, around 80% participants are below 30 years of age. So our group is that only, we have to target it. Another, and it was about the 6-week course, and during the first week we discussed about the fundamental things, what is that and concept and everything, but it was a kind of practical things. And the second week itself, we demonstrated with the help of video about the how to handle the machineries, how to calibrate the things related to conservation agriculture. And third week was more about the agronomical management. And during fourth week, and we discussed about the Kasi and its challenges. And then we discussed about advantages of Kasi. And during last week, we also discussed if you are an entrepreneur, so you can also start as a service provider, some business and entrepreneurs, that's a venture. And we also discussed some success story. And the thing is that we just after completion of the course, we conducted one survey, and you can see here, and this is when even that respondents are very much happy and related to the course material, about the quizzes, the pace of the course, and the instructor's knowledge. And another interesting things, we also asked one question, because many that researcher reported that certificates could be one of the motivation factors for the participation. But no, they came for only knowledge. They don't need any about kind of certificates. It's okay. Another thing is that because this is a different set of people. So traditionally or usually we follow about the, we used to publish about things about websites, or in fact used to just send letters and other things. But no, for targeting farmers, we did a different kind of innovations. We targeted farmers fair. We had more than 10,000 farmers participate, and we distributed our brochure. We published this kind of news that this is for farmers, and we are going to organize one MOOC in local newspaper. We publish it in about the WhatsApp and Facebook. We have one YouTube channel in which 3.48 lakhs subscribers are there, and we used to that upload farmers related content only, and it is in Hindi. So we also develop one video how to register and what are those benefits, what we are going to discuss, what is the objective. In addition, we also targeted about the people, and we found out that people who are just working for agriculture and available in YouTube and all. So we also requested to just publish our and popularize our scores. Another important things and innovation we did, as I mentioned, we have a YouTube channel And for promoting this learning and peer learnings, we used to conduct one live session every week. And we just note down about the questions and then have the discussions and everything. And sometimes farmers are hesitant to just write. So there is a facility for audio message they used to send, and we have discussion. And for further clarification or specification, we had one expert group, and we used to do about the act as a facilitator, and we used to do about the paraphrasing, summarizing the things for more discussion and other things, creating new topics. So these are some innovation we did, and it was more than 5,000 questions and discussions came out. And now important thing is that MOOC is sufficient for transforming sense from the information to about the action? No. We can reach up to intention. We analyzed all the questions, and we found that the interesting thing that in the during the first 1 or 2 weeks that people were asking more about the what is this Kasi, what is this conservation agriculture, and later on they used to ask about how to do the things, about the process details. But yes, for converting into an action, that we had to go for a capacity building about the overall ecosystem for that. Another question is, we need a different set of pedagogy or we need a general pedagogy? No, we need a different kind of pedagogy, because we are going to target a different set of learners. Because we are going to talk about the functional knowledge, we are going to talk about the skill development, we are going to talk about the experiential learning. So we need a different set of pedagogy, we need some innovation, how we can engage such type of learners. And we have to not stop here itself, we have to go for the hand holdings. Then we can convert this knowledge into action. So friends, I would like to conclude here. The first learning, for participation of more number of farmers, we have to go for the personalized learning, and not only the single platform, we have to identify where they are available, YouTube channel or anywhere. So we have to target multiple platforms. And for the peer learnings and knowledge sharing, we can go for the live discussions, social media, we can use it, facilitation skills, and diverse group of participants, if they are available there, they can discuss with each other. That is another important thing and learning for us. And friends, we can create knowledge, awareness, and even we can reach up to intention for implementation. But for converting into action, we have to go another set of demonstration and capacity building. For this, we have to go for a robust research for the learning outcomes, standardization of pedagogy, learning ecosystem for this kind of MOOC. And friends, this is a beginning. So we have to organize more number of MOOCs for promotion of sustainable agriculture, which is a future for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mishra. I think we will quickly move on to the next. That's a very interesting presentation, by the way, of customizing learning so that it can actually reach different people, no matter where they are. Our next presentation is titled Conservation Agriculture Adoption in Central Asia, Present and Future Prospects. It's being presented by Aziz Nuberkov from FAO, Pakistan. Thank you very much. We can move on to that one.
Sorry, Sepo, not Pakistan. This is Uzbekistan. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank for the organizers of the 8th World Congress giving me opportunity to make a presentation in this very important event. Title of my presentation is Status of Conservation Agriculture in Central Asia. I also would like to thank my co-authors for providing me and giving and supporting me to deliver this presentation. So, if we talk about in Central Asia. In Central Asia, there are 23 different agroclimatic zones, which provides to cultivate a wide range of agricultural crops, including winter crops, the spring crops, summer crops, and also different other trees also can be grown in Central Asian countries under these agroclimatic zones. So if we talk about land degradation, there is salinization, soil erosion, waterlogging, overstocking, and all this kind of land degradation is decreasing soil fertility all over the Central Asian countries. So if we think just to look at this map, you can see land degradation hotspots in Central Asia. So these are in red. A negative change in NDVI between 1982 and 1984 and 2006. So mostly in the northern part of Central Asia. In Kazakhstan, you can see the red hotspots, and also in Uzbekistan, in the irrigated land, you can see many land degradation here. So conservation agriculture can address these challenges. So as you know, there are three principles. So minimal soil disturbance on no-till technology, keeping crop residue in the upper layer of soil, and good crop rotation. At least 3 crops should participate in the crop rotation, or we can say crop diversification. Through these principles, conservation agriculture can address those problems we mentioned above. If we talk about CA in the region, the latest agricultural policies in Central Asian countries are becoming increasingly aligned to the promotion of sustainable and environmental friendly crop production systems based on CA. In the Republic of Kazakhstan, the state policy is oriented expanding the area under CA. Moreover, in National Agriculture Research, the priority area of study is the improvement of CA practices now. In Kyrgyzstan, the adoption of CA practices such as no-till, crop residue, and crop diversification remain limited. The latest agriculture policy in Uzbekistan is supporting conservation agriculture practices. The presidential decree adopted in 2019 on measures for efficient use of land and water resources in agriculture is very supporting conservation agriculture practices. In Tajikistan, some basic principles of CA were introduced through Anikarda and IFAD and FAO-led projects. Turkmenistan adopted its national program of social and economic development until 2030. In this program, there are also items to support conservation agriculture practices. If we talk in general, adoption area, CA in the region, so you can see that here Kazakhstan is the leading, following Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. And here they mostly, in Kazakhstan, it is more than 3 million hectares now. So if we include perennial crops, so and then the area of, in general, in Central Asia, it can go up to 3.6 million hectares in all Central Asian countries. So then we talk about the literature review, the effect of conservation agriculture practices on productivity of different agricultural crops. So in all cases we reviewed, the no-till technology are mostly higher, giving higher yield compared to conventional technology, except only cotton. So it means there is a good potential for conservation agriculture. And then when we talk about prospects for crop diversification under conservation agriculture, is very good perspective in Central Asia. Through double cropping, because double crop is essential to improve sustainability of farming and land use efficiency. So through using early maturing varieties of different crops, different cereal crops, different legume crops, including mung bean, soybean, corn, sorghum, etc., can be used as a second crop under the conservation agriculture practices. So through this, we can improve land use efficiency in all Central Asian countries. And now, new direction in conservation agriculture in Central Asia. So we can say that permanent crops, ground covers. So in Central Asia, before from the ancient time, people are using the distance between trees for different to cultivate different agricultural crops. So this is the good example here that you can see in the picture, but this can be used under the conservation agriculture, under the no-till technology. So it is very good perspective here. When we talk about constraints and challenges, a major constraint to CA in many Central Asian countries is the poor access to good quality no-till seeders in order to accelerate the adoption of CA. Local notice is absolutely essential for upscaling. Challenges. In Kazakhstan, mostly in the north, readjust incentive policies to improve the quality of CA and include smaller farmers. In the south, provide similar support for uptake CA for the diversified irrigated and smaller scale cropping system. Here, so we can use permanent bed planting technology. In Kyrgyzstan, crop diversification by small farmers, knowledge about CA systems among extension and technical staff, knowledge about CA at all levels, availability of equipment, and access to the finance, high interest rate and short in repayment period. The same challenges we can see in Tajikistan, we can see in Turkmenistan, but in Tajikistan, so you can see that accessible and affordable credit is also challenge, big challenge. In Uzbekistan, small-scale farmer adoption of CA is very good, very challenge. Knowledge about CA system among extension and technical staff, availability of equipment, permission farmers to decide on diversified crop rotation. The same we can say in Turkmenistan. If we talk about conclusion, it is clear that soil and water management is very important for sustainable agriculture in Central Asia. We should also say that much work has been done to improve soil and water related aspects. However, it has been observed that policy support for the uptake of the new efficient systems and practices such as CA are required, as well as technology transfer mechanisms for small-scale farmers so that they are empowered to take full benefit and increase their productivity and profitability. In this context, international agriculture research centers as well as international development organizations have been able to work with national institutions and scientists in formulating and testing locally adapted CA practices, especially suited to small and marginal farmers in Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, as well as the large-scale farmers in Kazakhstan. These CA practices need to be promoted further for large-scale adoption and desired impact on farmers field across the region. This is my last slide. So you can see here that harvest, straw baling, planting can be done at the same time. This is the beauty of conservation agriculture in the irrigated conditions of Central Asia. So through this, we can easily adopt conservation agriculture practices in Central Asia. With this, thanks for your attention. Thank you very much. Rahman.
Thank you very much, Aziz Nubekov. My apologies, Aziz Nubekov is from FAO Uzbekistan. My apologies for that. Thank you very much to all the presenters. So for now, we have very little time left, but we can immediately move on to the questions. I'll read out the questions and identify to who they are addressed to, and then the speakers can answer. I think the first two questions that I see are addressed to Dr. Ram Datt Mishra on the MOOCs. The first question from Sarah Kawesa. The question is, what has been your experience of MOOCs with rural farmers? That's one question. What has been your experience with MOOCs with rural farmers? I hope that is clear. And then there's another question on the same topic from Dr. MD Enamu Hek. The question reads, have you evaluated the application of MOOC? That's the question. For what aspect in terms of CA adoption? That's another question. What percentage of participants of MOOC applied real CA in India in rice wheat systems? Just to stress that we have very little time left. So I'll go on. So these are questions for Dr. Ram Datt Mishra. Maybe I can read a few more questions before we get answers. The next questions, I think, are addressed to, I'm told, Christoph will be replacing, am I correct? Yeah, Christoph is going to be replacing Gonet. These are about the soil carbon presentation. The first question, sorry, what's that language? Okay, the question is, in Austria, would planting hedges on the farms be a management option for improving soil health? That's one. To the same presentation, the next question is, does the use of herbicides and pesticides in CA destroy soil organic carbon? So if the two presenters can quickly answer those questions before we move on. Thank you.
Okay, shall I quickly start? So my name is Christoph, and I'm here with the group of Gernot Bodner, and I'll be answering the questions regarding his presentation, although I haven't seen it. So regarding the second question, will herbicides and pesticides destroy soil organic carbon? I think there is quite a lot of debate about that, and I think so far studies do not really, I think they do show that it affects the soil microbial community to a large degree, but we do not see that translating into significant changes in soil organic carbon, for example. Regarding the second question about the hedges as a management option for improved soil health, I think that's a valuable option for sure in conservation agriculture. In Austria, we are quite lucky that we have a rather small structured agricultural system. So many farmers do actually have rather small fields, and they already use hedges. And we also see that on those borders between those hedges and the fields, that we have increased soil organic carbon dynamics, so they absolutely help. Thank you. I think your microphone is muted.
Right. There's a question on maybe you can look at it and answer it later, which says, Gernot, slide 23, 0.51% humus or COG. Maybe you can look at that and answer it later. But for now, can we move on to Dr. Ram Datt Mishra on the two MOOC questions? Hello?
Sepo, it seems Ram is not, showing. I don't know, but I can reply on those questions, which I was part of that study as well. So
Thank you very much.
Allow me, I can do that. So one question was applications, how that we did. So application, this application is, hosted by the IIT of Kharagpur in India. And then we evaluated that how is effective that, MOOC is on that. So there was a platform for the discussions that where all audience are asked questions. after even, course that platform was active and then still is active. And then we pick up all participants that in different categories, and then we prepared a survey questionnaires to ask and then reach them and call them back that how that was effective. And then we ask a kind of like series of questions to them to get the feedback. There was, how that's, in real sense that C was practiced in India and abroad. And again, that discussion of, platforms shows that how they are active and they are interested to know about the calibration of machines, adjustment of seed rates and all, and how they are working in fields and all. But definitely this is the beginning, and maybe it will take time to reach more, how that MOOC can be more effective, because this is the first time we use it, and we have to learn more and then make more effective in future. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Christoph, are you able to answer the slide 23 question?
Well, yeah, I'll try. I don't have the slides with me at the moment, and you were still muted, but I think the question was regarding if it's like 0.51% humus or soil organic carbon. Is that right?
It says I don't know whether it's soil organic. Yeah, carbon. Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Carbon. So it refers to increase in soil organic carbon.
Okay.
If that answers the question.
Yeah, because it's humus or is it organic carbon? So I think we can move with that. And then the next questions addressed to Miguel. I hope Miguel is listening.
Yes.
The first question is Miguel is from Jesus. Miguel, do you think the spontaneous ground cover perform well enough? Do you always recommend seeding selected species? That's one. Yeah, I think that's.
Well, okay. Well, we recommend the use of ground cover, of course. Well, in fact, we don't compare different type of soil management in our experiment. Okay, we compare with between different type of ground cover. Well, spontaneous vegetation is more economical, but it has some drawbacks. Spontaneous vegetation could be more competitive for water and nutrient with the tree, and it's more difficult to control. And sometimes you could have not enough seed bank in the soil, because it's something that happened in the field 3 in our experiments. The soil management before the beginning of the experiment was bare soil with pre-emergence herbicide, and after we obtained enough biomass after 3 years, 3 seasons. But during 3 seasons, we didn't obtain enough biomass to cover the soil upper 30%. And also, if we seed the ground cover, we can introduce what we need. For instance, if we have high erosion problem, but I recommend the use of a gramineous plant, a grass that cover, provide a high soil protection, and is usually easy to control. If we have not enough, we have a not very steep slope. It's quite flat, but we can use a leguminous, a legume to reduce fertilizer. And we have soil compaction, but we can use a brassica. The advantages of seeding
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I've got two more questions coming in for Aziz Nubekov. how did other management practices like fertilizer and pesticide management change after the adoption of no-till? That's one question. How did other management practices like fertilizer and pesticide management change after the adoption of no-till? That's one question. And then the next question is from Sarah Kawesa, who's saying, in Uzbekistan, how can equipment be availed to smallholder farmers? Are there policies to support the process? Aziz Nubekov, 2 questions for you.
Thank you very much, Sepo. The first, when the question was about this pest and herbicide management after the no-till adoption, was it correct, Sepa?
Sorry? Yeah, the first question is...
first question was about...
The management, yes. Like fertilizer and pesticide management, did they change after the adoption of no-till? Those practices, like yes. Use of fertilizer, pesticides?
Yes. First, after this adoption of conservation agriculture, this fertilizer management also changed because of the after the 5-year study, many farmers started decreasing fertilizer rate. So that's why this management changed. So we can say surely. Then when it comes to this herbicide and pesticide management, so these are under the review. So I cannot directly answer to this question, but our scientists are working on this direction. The second question was
on equipment. How can equipment
yes, for
yes,
small
be available to smallholder farmers?
Yeah.
Yes, are there policies to support?
There is no policy support for the small scale farm.
Okay. Are there any proposals of how?
Big farmers are getting support from the government of Kazakhstan. When it comes to small farmers, no, small farmers are not getting, because small farmers are is different here in Uzbekistan or in Kazakhstan. Because in Uzbekistan we say that small farm, it's their size is about more than 20 hectares. While in Kyrgyzstan, in Tajikistan, it is about 1 hectare. So that's why there is a very different, very range size of farmers here. But when we talk about this policy support, no policy support for the small farmers here in all Central Asian countries. Thank you. Over.
Okay, thank you very much for that response. And this is just a question to the organizers that I'll also read. There are 2 presentations going on in parallel. We are missing one. Can we get these presentations translated into Russian? I guess the organizers are also listening. So that question is to the organizers. I think we are right on time. Let's see if we have any more. So we don't have any more questions. So I'd like to really say thank you to all the presenters for the very good presentations, which were actually right on time. Thank you very much for all the effort, and to the participants who are actively asking questions. Would also like to thank you, and my co-chair. Thank you very much. I think we have come to the end. It's 10:40, so we can simply say we have come to the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.